Welcome to Taking the Edge Off the Middle East, a series of casual conversations offering up insider knowledge about the most important events in the Middle East and why it matters to the United States. I'm Brian Katulis, host of the program and senior fellow here at the Middle East Institute. I'm very excited about today's program because today we have Rana Abtar, who is chief correspondent for Asharq Al-Awsat newspaper, and she's also with Asharq News, anchor of the Washington Report program. Rana, welcome to Taking the Edge Off the Middle East. Let's take some edge off the Middle East.
Do it.
Great. Why I'm really excited is you just came from taping your latest program.
Yes.
And I'm excited because I've been on that program and now I get to turn the tables on you. And that's what we're going to do here today. We're going to talk about what's going on with U.S. policy in the region, as we often do. We're going to talk about your personal experience in the region. And then we're importantly going to talk about the media coverage of the Middle East and your work. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great. And for those of you who are joining us, thanks for tuning into the program. We need you to subscribe to the program, rate it, do all these things. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and those places. Tell your friends about it. We're really excited about what we're doing here. Rana, first question. We're about 6-7 months now into the Trump administration. What's your assessment? You in your job is you try to articulate and report back to the region what's going on over here. What's your sense of how the Trump administration, about 7 months in, have handled this part of the world, the Middle East?
Well, first, Brian, thank you for having me. And obviously, this is a conversation that we've been wanting to have for a long time. I'm glad that we flipped the table. So hopefully, no hard questions. But I can see your first question is actually a hard question.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
And it's basically what you also worked on, right? Like you do these assessments and these grades that I love.
Report cards.
With report cards for different presidents. And it is a tough question because I don't think today, with what's going on in the Middle East, it's fair to grade a president just in the Middle East in general, because so many topics, so many issues in the Middle East, so many different issues. So maybe we should just look at every issue.
Different files.
Because maybe with Biden, it was more interconnected. Mm-hmm. Today with Trump, you look obviously to an issue like Gaza. You can't give a good grade for that.
Yes.
It's horrible. It needs to be stopped. And then you look at a place like Syria, where there's hope. There's a lift of sanctions, and I'm talking hope because I have a lot of friends from Syria who are looking at this as an opportunity. There's a lot of fear, obviously, but it's also hope. And by lifting sanctions on Syria, Trump gave them some hope.
And this was a surprise, right?
It was a surprise when it comes to their reaction or to the lifting of sanctions.
Just the fact that Trump did this. This is what I remember. Right before he went, his senior advisor on counterterrorism, Sebastian Gorka, gave an interview, I think, to your outlet. Yes. I think that's what it was. And he basically was asked by one of your colleagues, what do you think of Ahmed Ashara, the de facto president of Syria? And just to paraphrase him, he essentially said, once a jihadi, always a jihadi. And he threw cold water on that idea.
You always call him Jolani, never Ahmed Ashara.
Explain Jolani to people.
So Jolani is his, I don't know what you say. His not nickname.
His jihadi name.
His jihadi name, basically. Yeah. So we had that. He also had a couple of interviews, Gorka, about Ashara. Obviously, there was this tension within the administration, this friction of people who want the sanctions to be lifted and people like Gorka who were very suspicious about Ashara for obvious reasons. So yes, the lifting of sanctions came as a surprise, but it was a good surprise for most of the Syrians that I talked to who wanted some hope after being under Assad for so long.
Yes.
So obviously time will tell whether this was a good decision or a bad decision, but I think today I would give Trump a good grade.
Why did he do that? What was the prime motivator?
You want me to tell you what Trump is thinking about?
I
have no idea. I mean, I think it really depends on the people who he surrounded himself with and who he listens to. I think it's good to have people around you from the region that they know how people are thinking and maybe also the culture, because I think this is, maybe we talk about this during the podcast, there's a disconnect mostly culturally between Americans and the region.
Yes,
and it can translate as, as not cultural, but it is cultural in some areas. So yeah, I mean, I don't why he did that. I think he listened to the people who were involved in the file within his administration, who wanted opportunity in the region, and he also during his visit to the Gulf region, he had obviously a lot of talks with the leaders in the region, and for them giving Syria a glimmer of hope was important for the whole region.
Yeah, what I heard, and our colleague Charles Lister, and we have other colleagues like Robert Ford who work on Syria, have great expertise. If you're not following their work at NEI,
Charles was on the show too.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. They say also a key factor was the Saudi leadership and leaders in the region who essentially said, look, this is an opportunity. Yeah. And the U.S. sanctions and the lack of engagement with this leader may actually prevent progress. And we need, and that's a key part of it.
It is definitely a key part. And that was where he made the announcement, right? So the timing and the location were very telling. And it's also... It's important to listen to these voices because they know more they know the region. Right. They know that some American sanctions, and I can tell also, we can talk about Lebanon, most sanctions in the region, the leaders who are supposed to who are the target of sanctions know how to evade it. Evade the sanctions.
We'll get to Lebanon in a second. I want to ask you about, because basically you said Gaza bad, and as you recall, you moderated a session we had on one of my reports on Biden, and I don't think they handled it as well. What about the big file of Iran? A lot has happened in the last 7 months on Iran. How do you think the U.S. has handled this?
So I was pleasantly surprised by the fact that he was able to contain the strikes.
In June.
I'm curious to see if you also agree with me on that. In June, the U.S. Because when it happened, when we all saw how things could have escalated much more. Right. And it was, other than the fact that domestically he was facing this MAGA base that were saying, what's going on? You said you don't want wars, and now you're striking Iran. Right. You also had the fear in the region that these strikes can go out of control. The fact that he was able to contain them, it was strikes and then nothing. Right. Relatively. Yeah. That was surprisingly good for the region. So I would say on Iran, it's not a negative point. Because also you have, with the Iranian regime, you have to show some toughness. You can't just, say, well, we're going to give you this if you give us that. And that's part of it. Like Trump is good at the language that he uses. Not saying that this is, a great thing, but it's good. Right. For the circumstances.
Yeah, so my take, I do these quarterly reports. So the first quarter, which was basically January till about May, before he went on the trip, I gave him a B, which is sort of like not excellent, but But at that point, they were engaging in diplomacy. There were several rounds of talks, but they were also signaling deterrence, saying that if you don't move in this direction, there could be strikes. Yeah. In the second quarter, most recent report, which came out in late July, I gave them an incomplete, in part because, and I what I would say, my view is, yes, I think the U.S. helped contain the damage and the spillover like the United States did under the Biden administration in spring and in the fall of 2024. And that's mostly because of the U.S. Central Command. We here at the Middle East Institute, we do a lot of work across the board. We have Joe Votel, a former U.S. CENTCOM commander, as one of our affiliated scholars, and we integrate that into our work. And I think a key part is it's not just the leaders and the president, it's the fact that the U.S. has a presence in the region, and it actually works with partners across the Gulf, and including Jordan, not in the Gulf, and Israel. And we stitch these things together and tried to contain it in a quiet way. Political leadership matters. I'm not denying that. But it's that fact that we have institutions that are there, that are working with other institutions.
But the main challenge with Trump is that he doesn't necessarily listen all the time to his people, to the people around him. Right. So it was... you always think about what might be his reaction, and then you look at his actual reaction and you take it from that perspective.
Exactly.
He could have just, like what he did in Syria, with Syria in his first term. He tweeted that that the U.S. is going to withdraw. And then that was a big big thing on Twitter, and then he didn't. So it's basically, it's good to listen to voices like you said, like General Votel, who isn't there obviously anymore, but
but the institutions is the key point. The reason I gave it incomplete is because unlike what Trump was saying in his rhetoric, we obliterated the program, the nuclear program, or the challenges that Iran has posed to the region. Even though Iran and its proxy network are down, I don't think they're out. I think they still are a factor,
and I don't.
But Iran did receive a blow from this 12-day war.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I believe this is and we've been doing this for a long time. I don't remember a time where Iran was that weak.
Yes. Yeah, I think Iran is the weakest it's been since the revolution in 1979. Let's turn to a bit more of a personal file, which is where you're from, which is Lebanon. I know you just came back from visiting your family. How was that family visit?
It was amazing. 10 pounds later.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You were saying you had a hard time fitting into the work clothes, huh?
Yeah. Today was the first time I tried my suits after the trip. So,
that's a good family visit.
It's a great family visit. Yeah. Great food. Lebanon, I mean, obviously, if we want to look at the positives of the visit, family is just, it's sweet to spend time with the family. It's precious.
Yeah.
You don't realize how fast time goes by until you go and see their faces and how old they're getting. It's just, and I don't want to tear up, but my mom, my dad.
Yes.
It's just, I'm blessed that I'm able to go and take my kids there. I have 2 girls.
Yes.
Go
it's wonderful.
Yeah. So they are connecting to their roots and they're seeing family, my brother, his 2 daughters. So it's just, I can't complain. At least they're safe.
And you're from Baalbek?
Yes.
Tell us about that town.
What do I say about that?
You wrote a post on Facebook, which I saw in Arabic and then I saw in English, which was poetic. And you were basically...
In a sad way, though, right?
Yeah, very sad.
Yeah.
Tell us about Baalbek and why...
I mean, Baalbek is just such a beautiful place that has so much potential, but it's not going to get there anytime soon. Wow. And why? I mean, obviously, you know what Baalbek, for people who don't know what Baalbek is, it's the home of the main ruins and the Roman ruins, the beautiful columns. It's just, you look at it, it's so majestic.
Yeah.
When you get there, but then you have this ideology that is stuck. It's a Hezbollah stronghold. It's still a Hezbollah stronghold.
Right. Even after the war last year, and
even like when I went there this year, I was hoping to see some glimmer of hope in a sense of maybe things will change for Baalbek to look something like when I was raised, the way I was raised there, like look like me, look like my daughters, like it's
less conservative. And do they still have the Mahrajan Baalbek?
They did actually when I was there. They had it.
This is it's a musical festival.
It's a musical festival. Yeah. I personally watched I watched Feiruz in
what?
When
back then. Okay.
No, but it's just such a beautiful, romantic, majestic place that has so much. Like I always think, I close my eyes and I've tried to think like, what can Baalbek do or be if people are just if the system just let it, if you have this touristic area where people are just walking around happy, singing, building tourism in the region. It's just not, it's like sadness and bitterness and being stuck in ideologies that shouldn't be there.
And it wasn't like that when you were a kid, right? Which was like in the 2000s, right? Or the 1990s or...
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it wasn't like that for a certain... I mean, it's mainly when I don't remember when exactly, but I still remember vividly when Baalbek changed, because this is when the Revolutionary Guards came to Baalbek.
From Iran.
And there was this switch of Baalbek was such a lovely place that you can just be the way you are.
Was this in the 1990s or when was this?
Maybe 19. I'm trying to remember. I honestly.
But it was before the 2006 war.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I was a kid playing in the neighborhood. Yeah. But I see pictures of, and I listen to my mom and dad, their stories, and I see their pictures walking around in Baalbek, being, in modern clothing and not being subjected to this, ideology that we watch today. And it makes me sad, just because, also to put it in perspective, I cannot just blame people there. It's just the economy.
It's the economy.
Terrible.
Yeah. And
so when you have people who cannot make money to feed their kids, they go to certain ideologies that will pay them.
Uh-huh. And this is a consequence after the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran, and they started to export some of their ideas. Is that correct?
Correct. So I started seeing signs on the walls saying, death to America, or saying, so yeah, this was the start. I mean, of this export, like the Iran exporting the ideology to Lebanon.
So that was then. This is now 2025, and I know talking to you in 2024, and what a trauma it was for you personally and your family. Your mom and dad are there. The war breaks out. People think the war between Israel and Hezbollah is just something that might touch the South. Yeah. But I was talking to you, and there were bombs going off in your neighborhood, right? Yeah. And there were the fears
They had to flee Baalbek. We had to actually find them an Airbnb in Beirut to stay in for until they were able to come, thankfully, to me here, my mom and dad, because also that's another thing that I'm thankful and blessed for, that me being a U.S. citizen, they got their American passports, so I was able to bring them here. They didn't need a visa to come here. But my brothers got stuck there with their family, and it's just, Brian, what's weird is, like, I feel some things you just convince yourself that you're used to them. You just don't realize how hard it is to deal with. And it's 2006, the war. You always, like, you live these experiences and you don't realize how they affect you until you wake up in the middle of the night on a thunderstorm thinking it's bombs.
Yeah.
So it's just, but you always have to look at the bright side, like, they're safe. They're good. They're with me today. Then, we had some damage to our house in Baalbek, but thankfully we were able to fix that. So you always have to convince yourself that,
Yeah, no, that sort of emotional, psychological component, the human component, I think think tanks here in Washington need to keep that in mind, because we often sometimes write from a distance. And even if we visit and travel regularly, it's important to remember that these wars, and I hear it almost every day from my friends that I lived and worked with in Gaza, talk a lot about it. Just heard from my friend Maher, that this is going to have an imprint for years to come, and it's not going to go away.
Yeah, and what strikes me the most, being also working in politics here, is, for me, it's very simple. You have issues in the region. You have issues like Gaza. You have pictures, like the footage coming from what's going on in Gaza. There's a lot of people there that would, obviously, this shouldn't be happening.
Yes.
This shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
But there are also some elements that would use these pictures to recruit. And I don't understand why the U.S. didn't understand that, or if they understood that this is basically, let's stop these elements that, they're using these to recruit people, and to basically move on, to just put all of this behind us and we all in a better place.
Yeah, no, and you open the door. I'm going to get to sort of the heart of what we're going to talk about.
I warned you before.
No. But the media and the images and things like this, we'll get to that in a second. But before close out on Lebanon, is there, in 2025, you've just come back, you've gained a little pound, I don't see it.
Thank you.
Do you see more hope in the new government? Like, what's your honest assessment in August 2025 where things are inside of the country?
I'm conflicted. I so hope in the beginning, with the new president, the new prime minister. Then I lost hope with all the back and forth, like, what are we doing with the arms? What are we doing with the economy? Who is going to be held accountable with the Beirut explosion? Which is, for me, this is when I lost complete hope in Lebanon.
Tell us about the Beirut explosion. That happened 5 years ago? Or
yeah. But, and honestly, these are one of the things that I try to just erase from my memory if I can, like the dates and what happened, because it still feels like tomorrow, like yesterday.
Yeah, but the basics, just for our audience, tell us.
Yeah, it's just it was this explosion in the port that was, I mean, this destroyed Beirut, destroyed I think it was 2,000. There were 2,000 killed.
And it was incompetence, right?
Incompetence, pure corruption, and no accountability whatsoever. And the reason why I say this is when I lost hope is because you can look at other things, other issues, and you say this is political. This is, this is related to this, let's say, part of Lebanon, or this sect, or this religion. Beirut explosion, it hit everyone, and still
no response.
No response.
Why? No leadership?
No leadership. I wish I had the answer, because I still struggle. Like, why? How hard is it to hold people accountable for something this big, for something this major?
Right.
And because I don't have the answer, I don't have hope.
Yeah.
Until I have the answer, until I'm like, I wish I can go to Lebanon more often. I wish I can take my kids to Lebanon more often. But you know how much responsible I feel when I put them on the plane to take them there.
Yes.
Like, this is on me.
Right.
Everything
something
happens,
happens.
on me.
You're there.
Yeah. But yeah, but I'm a hopeful person. I'm a positive person.
Yes.
I still kind of hope, but not. I don't know.
Yeah. So let's jump into what we really want to talk about and spend some minutes talking about what it's like to cover America for Middle East audiences. First, tell us a little bit about what you were doing. I was looking at your background and I looked at LinkedIn. I'm going to tell you, I said 15 years? No, it's more than 15 years. And you changed, but you updated it yesterday. Yeah. I have this problem too. We're about the same age. I'm like, wow, it's been 30 years since I studied and 20 years since I've been in this field. So we've got to just adjust our brains. It's okay, Rana.
It's crazy. No, I'm not okay, but I'm just kidding.
But you've been here in the U.S. covering the U.S., but mostly for Middle East outlets, right?
Yeah, 2004, I came here, and we can talk about how this worked out the trip and all. But 2004, I came here. I was recruited by Al-Hurra, the U.S. government.
The free one.
The free one, the U.S. government funded Arabic network. And stop me if I'm going to the...
No, it's good.
So, and this is... I came here, that was my first trip on a plane ever.
Really?
Yep. I was...
How old were you?
23.
Okay. So I have a similar story. My first trip on an airplane, period, was when I was 20, and I went to Cairo to study in Egypt.
From
Yeah, I'd never been on a plane before.
Yeah. How was that?
It was so exciting. Yeah.
I remember every second of it. It's such a long flight.
Yeah.
But was it a direct flight?
No, I went through London and then another country, because it was one of these student
Imagine
tickets.
The transit while you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
But basically, that was also part of it. It's related to what we were talking about before. Is my mom? I'm an only daughter. I have two brothers. My mom and dad put me, like, they basically took me physically to put me on the plane, because I didn't want to leave. I was still too scared. I was like, that was my home, my family. I didn't know what to expect.
That's a tough leap to make. Yeah,
tough leap. But basically they dragged me physically. I'm not joking. Like, it's like, no, you're getting on that flight.
Yeah.
Because they knew there was no future in Lebanon. I worked, because I was working as a journalist, a junior journalist. I think I made 500,000 lira. Then it was maybe $150 per month.
Wow.
Yeah. So they knew there was no future.
So you came here, land of opportunity.
Land of opportunity. And then the first thought I had when I landed here and they're driving me from the airport, like, what, there's no lights? I think they took us through I don't know, GW or something. Like, no lights. What are you talking about? No, that's not.
Yeah, you thought it was a third world country or something. Yeah.
So basically, I came here. I started Al Hurra wasn't on air yet, so I helped launching the TV station, and then after about less than a year, they were like, "Oh, we don't have a correspondent in Congress," and I was just there, like, Rana, what do you think? Like, I go. I had no idea what Congress is. No idea. basically, I was just sent there to cover House and Senate. So I had to study the system, and I loved it. I loved it, and I got stuck in it for 15 years. That's the 15 years.
That's the 15 years
that's
right
the
there.
15 years on the Hill.
So you get there and you're like, wow, these people are working really long hours, and then they don't actually produce them.
Well, funny enough, they used to produce much more than
these days. Yeah.
It was, so 2006, that was when Pelosi became speaker. That was the first time a female speaker got to that position. But then, we can talk about how things change on the Hill and in the politics.
Right.
But to answer your question about covering U.S. politics, I would say how is covering U.S. politics to Americans, right?
Yeah, it's confusing.
It's confusing because it's a confusing system. And now with the polarized system,
it's become much more polarized in that period. Yeah. I should say, a few years into your tenure, you got an accolade. You were named in 2008 as one of the 50 most beautiful people on Capitol Hill. So how did you feel about that? Did you feel objectified? Were you upset?
What? That's great. Well, why would I feel that? I mean, there were different times because, I mean, it was the Hill, right? And the Hill where you had the paper on each desk. That was before. Like I remember there was an online presence, but it wasn't as intense as today. Perhaps so. But it was. I mean, it's fun. I'm not like, I wouldn't go that deep into analyzing like, do I feel it was flattering.
Yeah,
I'm happy. Senator John Warner was right before me.
But it wasn't rank ordered, obviously.
Obviously, but it was fun. And then, funny enough, I had so many calls from Lebanese after that.
Of course,
like, before that they didn't even acknowledge that I covered the Hill, but after that was
yeah. So first, what are some memorable moments from covering politics and policy, and then second, how's that changed in the 20 years since you've been doing it? So
so a lot has changed, but basically, to start with the memorable, I mean, you remember faces mostly. You remember people who impacted you in a good or bad way. I know, I probably saw from my social, the person who impacted me the most was Senator John McCain.
Why?
He was just I think it started with the Syria in 2011. He became very involved, and he was so passionate about the issue, and he really meant well talking about the issue. He didn't have, like, you have politicians are politicians. For him, it was, I could tell it was personal, and he would stop me in the hallway to talk about it.
Yeah.
Plus biased here. His mom is an identical twin, and we had this because I have my identical twins too.
Oh yeah, so that's right.
He used to always share stories with me about his mom and her twin sister, and I would my girls were very little then, so we connected on that level,
on a personal level. But then he was a leader who actually, and I put it this way, took positions rather than was positioning and a weather vane according to sort of the winds that blew, right? He was
very authentic about it, and he didn't mince words. I remember in hearings, he would be he didn't care whether the person in front of him is Republican or Democrat.
Yeah.
He would grill them on the topic.
I was a target of that, by the way. In 2015, I testified to his Armed Services Committee.
Okay.
I was the only Democratic witness, and there were 3 Republicans, I think. But I think you look back on it, and I think I did quite well. He was quite critical of the Obama administration. It was around the ISIS crisis.
Yeah.
But he did his homework, was the other thing. Yeah. He actually was in the weeds on all of these challenges and problems, and I think it was because he fought in Vietnam. He believed in the country.
And it was the waterboarding issue. Remember, also he stood up for waterboarding.
Yeah.
And plus and it was sad to see him deteriorate in health, just because, I mean, the moment I saw him in that hearing, I think it was with General Petraeus, if I'm not mistaken, where he started asking questions that I'm like, there's something
wrong
with him. And this is after that there was the diagnosis. So my point is, regardless of whether it's Senator McCain or someone else, authenticity is just, it's very rare.
And we don't have that as much these days, is what you're saying.
No, I don't think. I'm trying to think of names. don't have.
Why has that changed, do you think, in our politics? You think it is? Like, people feel like they need to perform in certain ways in social media, but then they don't take the time to actually connect with people on a personal level.
They want a 30-second soundbite that strikes the audience, that gets them donations, followers. I assume, I'm just saying, maybe this is it. There are still some, and also the polarized environment in general. Even between the parties, not only Democrats, Republicans, between Democrats, you have these divisions that weren't there before. And you don't have statesmen as before. You don't have like Senator John Kennedy, he was Senator Ted Kennedy when he was a senator. You don't have someone who would bridge the gap.
Try to build bridges and things like this. And that's not part of the political or media landscape. So we're at the Middle East Institute, how do you think this has affected the debate in the Middle East? I'll tell you my view on this. And I've written, and before I came to MEI, I was at a different think tank, the Center for American Progress, on the center left. And I feel like a lot of what has happened in this change in the media and political landscape has made the Middle East more like an object in our own social and political debates. I've called it a neo-Orientalism. So if you remember Edward Said's or Orientalism, that in a sense, the Lebanese people, or especially these days, Israelis or Palestinians, are used as props and proxies in our own debates with each other about things. And quite often, even some of the most prominent voices who spout off on what should happen in the Middle East, they're not really going to the region that much, or they don't speak the language, but they're using it sort of as a cudgel, a partisan or ideological issue. I don't know what you think about that.
I mean, listen, the Middle East is such a tough area and to basically talk about, because as we said in the beginning, it's not just one area, it's multiple issues, multiple beliefs, multiple cultures. But I mean, I think there need to be more effort made in understanding cultures. And I keep repeating that because I think it's so important. Like politics, the politics in the region are so messed up. You won't understand them even if you want to understand them.
Right, yeah.
Cultures are different. And once you understand the country culturally, connecting with the people becomes easier. And talking to some people and some leaders as partners, not trying to give like, oh, this is the
orders
and orders and and this is what we think. For example, like the definition of democracy. Like, maybe for someone you ask in Maryland, like, what's democracy? The answer that he will give you is different than someone who lives inAalbek, for example.
Right. Yeah. We're asking that question about democracy a lot these days in America, by the way. So
and you have different answers in America.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. It's just, you keep an open mind. Not everything that doesn't think like you is bad. You just have to understand why they're thinking this way. And if you think your way is the right way, then try to convince them without showing that you're just giving orders. And that's, I think, part of it is to go back to the first question we're saying. That's why I think Trump's speech in the Gulf was such a good speech in Saudi, because he got that. He spoke. I mean, you can dislike the guy, you can criticize his politics, but I don't know who wrote that speech. It just resonated. And
why it resonated? Why?
Because he spoke as a partner. And he said, I'm not here to tell you how to live, and I'm not here to tell you, how to conduct your business. We're partners.
Right.
And this is a conversation. This is not an order. And I think whoever wrote the speech did a good job.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So you came here more than 20 years ago. We've established that.
Come on, to repeat.
And you it was sort of inscrutable to see what Congress is. Now you're a pro. Like, when I talk to you, and you know the votes and like what's going on better than it's amazing. So what's your biggest challenge in translating that back to the region these days?
Oh, it was very challenging in the beginning. Because also the difference in system, like what is Congress and what is the Speaker of the House does? Why do you have a majority? Why do you have a whip leader? Like, explain, like,
What is
can
a
you
whip?
translate that?
Can you translate whip? Yeah.
And what is filibuster? Like, what do you mean filibuster? Like, a senator can stand forever and you don't need to use the bathroom. Like, what's wrong with? But because my major is translation, I enjoyed it so much. Like, I didn't study journalism. I studied translation.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a challenge. Like, once I can translate that and explain it, then, I feel like I accomplished something.
Yeah.
Plus, I tried, and I didn't do it on purpose. It just happened that I tried to talk to the camera, basically the audience. It's like the way I understood the system, I want to explain it. Mm-hmm. So it's not that, I know more than you, or I'm going to tell you that this is what's going to... No, I explain like what is just the way I read it, the way I understood it. Right. I try to explain
the ABCs of it, and here's the basics, and here's how it works.
No one knows everything. I still learn. I mean,
but in doing this, I mean, when I lived in the Middle East, I lived there for about 3, 4, 5 years, about 4 years, and this was back in the 90s mostly. There was a perception that policy was made just at the White House, right. and it's very top down, and it's controlled by lobbies and things like this. And you introduce complexity in essence in your reporting. You show that there's checks and balances still in the system. Yeah. There's different factions even within parties, right?
Because this is also, during our visits to the region, we heard that a lot, and I had to explain that yes, it's very hard. I mean, it's even for Americans, it's very hard to understand the system because it is a complicated system, but it's a good system because I mean, until they removed the 60 votes,
if you could keep it, as Ben Franklin would say,
But the thing is, when I first started, to go back to that, I was the only Arabic reporter covering Congress.
Interesting.
Because Arabic networks didn't really focus on Congress. As you said, it was mostly White House state. They thought this is, and it is a decision-making place. It's not that it's irrelevant. It's very relevant. But then Congress has such a big role with arms deals, with everything. It's the power of the purse, right? And then gradually it was fun to start seeing, like, the Arabic network starting dispatching reporters to cover, not full-time. But then at the past couple of years, I noticed this, they're actually having someone who is dedicated to
So you now have more competition and things like that.
Because I stopped doing that.
Of course,
because, I stopped, and I love helping them. I mean, this is also my passion. Maybe it's my vice too, that because I've done that all by myself. And I'm like, what? It took me a lot of effort and time. So I want to help people understand. And, these junior reporters, these new reporters, like, why not help them if I can?
So 2 more questions on this before we wrap and go to sort of your background a bit more and things like this. So what's the vibe like in your industry right now? Like, I can tell you, I've been in think tanks for about 20 years, and I actually think it's mostly very collegial. Like, we work across so many different sectors. There are divisions, and we can talk about it. But underneath, there's some rivalry and sometimes passive-aggressive competition when people, primarily when they're looking for jobs in a new administration, that's when the sharp elbows come out and things like this. But by and large, what I found is it's a very friendly, collegial. There are divisions between, and it's not just left versus right or ideological anymore. Sometimes it's personal. But by and large, I think it's pretty collegial, even though there's that subtext of competition that people want to get like their name out there and things like that. What's it like to be a journalist with other competition now?
I think I think the answer would have been so different before social media, before this, hunger to, having followers and likes, and and it also depends on which industry you're talking about, in a sense of you have print, you have newspaper,
which you do,
you have TV, but also now everything is intertwined, right? So now even newspapers, they have these clips that it's all going to the the TV, the 30 seconds thing. So I learned so much from my colleagues who are from the newspaper, because you have big names in the newspaper, and print is just so amazing. I enjoy writing so much.
You're chief correspondent at Asharq Al-Awsat, and it's a key part of...
and I get to pick what I write, and I get to basically, there's no, your time is off, you're off, you need to stop writing. You can put everything that and just publish it. The TV, because it's 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, this is when the competition gets, who's going to have more airtime, who's going to have, breaking, like who's going to have the exclusive. So, and I think it's healthy. Healthy competition is amazing. It just, sometimes people lose focus on their target and they start trying to put other people down.
I see.
That
happens.
It happens in every industry.
In every industry, including ours.
So I wouldn't say I would say it's maybe the same, but the evolution of social media affected every single industry.
And has made that competition more intense and maybe has reduced the quality of the discourse that we have because there's this rush to, because, I've thought of stories, especially during this war, October 7th and since then, where there was just breaking news and people wanted to get a quick comment from me. And I would, as a cautious think tanker, say, well, I don't actually know. Let me talk to somebody in Gaza or in Israel.
From people.
And I would sacrifice sort of a snazzy quote in a paper just because I wanted to check my facts and not make a mistake. And even though we're all human, we make mistakes no matter what, but more cautious, and I want to move at a slower pace.
It's priceless. I mean, this is such an important thing to remember with this fast news environment. Is that, and I always say, like, I don't know where I heard it, but I would rather be second and right than first and wrong.
Yeah.
It's always, but then how hard is it? Because it's all about, someone tweeted something and then how many retweets, and then now it's everywhere. Even my dad would I read this on the internet. I'm like, Dad, Baba, where on the internet? Like, just look, it's right there. I'm like, it doesn't mean it's factual.
Yeah, exactly. So something that goes viral, and especially as we're looking at artificial intelligence and things getting souped up really quickly, we have to be careful with the facts. That's what we do here at the Middle East Institute, is try to put out quality analysis, and that. Last question on the media.
Yeah.
I lived in the Middle East, as I mentioned, in the 1990s, and it was a barren landscape from my perspective. It was state-owned TV. I remember it would go off the air when I lived in Amman, Jordan, at a particular hour. Hashem Malik was the closing song, the national anthem.
I remember it.
It's 24/7 now, right? And what's described the media landscape in the Middle East, Asharq is one of the major media outlets there, but one of many. And some have are funded by government, some have close relationships. But what's it like right now? It's more of a cacophony of different voices, or how would you describe?
It's definitely there's a diversity. There's a lot of variety compared to what you're talking about. And when was that? 19 something?
94, 98, 99. Yeah,
it's always good to have diverse voices, diverse opinions. I would say from my perspective as working with Asharq, I am very happy and blessed that I'm able to cover U.S. politics the way I am from the show that I do, Washington Report, and as you said, you were there.
Yeah,
it's just, I don't see like all these, the talk about, guidelines and stuff. Guidelines exist in every single news station, every single newspaper, in every think tank, right? Like there are guidelines you can't cross, and that's okay. You look at also U.S. media. I mean, obviously, you open the TV. If you want to hear a certain opinion, you would go to a certain network. A different opinion, you would go to another network. So once you know what you're dealing with, then you get to pick and choose what to watch. And I feel, from my own experience, Washington Report. Not that I'm biased, but I cover things as is, and this is maybe also one of the things that are not to my advantage. Is like there's maybe not a lot of likes because it's not controversial, and it will never be controversial.
Yeah.
Because I'm just going to state the facts.
So in that way, we're probably birds of the feather. We sort of flock together on this. I was telling you yesterday, I'm a big nerd for PBS NewsHour, and I last question on this. I wanted to add one thing. I think I got the answer to it already, which is what are the positive things in the media industry you'd seek to reinforce? And I would articulate it as quality. Upping the level of discourse as opposed to quickness necessarily. Is that right?
And authenticity.
Authenticity is
authentic.
Yeah, authentic.
To be fair, some people, if they're authentic, they're not likable. So not everyone who's authentic.
Yeah, I know some of those
people. But basically, just be authentic. Don't try to don't try to get likes just because. Don't try to pretend something that who you're not.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's because people know. People can tell. It's a camera. The camera, you look at it. It's just it reads you more than you read yourself.
Right. Yeah.
So the moment you're not authentic, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
So, and around the corner to the last couple of questions, I have to say, this is a terrific podcast. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, whatever they did on that podcast. I think we're going to get more numbers than that on this, right? Yeah, we should. Yeah.
I like it.
I want to close out with where I close with all of these interviews with my guests. And I hope a key part of our audience is the next generation, whether it's in Lebanon or around the region or here in the U.S. You talked about how you got to America and got into this, but what was your origin story? What was the spark that led you into this career initially in journalism?
It was when I graduated from college. As I said, my major is translation. I started working in a translation office, and I hated it. I couldn't. I lasted for maybe a couple of months. Then I started working in a TV station, local TV station. But because my major is translation, I wasn't put in the newsroom. I was put, I think I was the 9th floor, where you would actually translate the wires and I would physically deliver the wires to, I remember, the 7th floor in the local TV station. And I would look around me and I see reporters walking around talking and I'm like, this is exactly what I want. I don't want to be stuck in the 9th floor.
Yeah.
And until I got my opportunity, I mean, I fought hard to get the opportunity because, once you're stuck somewhere, it's very hard to get out.
Yeah.
And I was sent to the 7th floor. I slept there. I didn't even leave. Any assignments, I would go. I mean, you want to cover sewers in Lebanon? I would go cover it. I don't care. So I didn't say no to any assignment.
That's great.
And it just, the moment you know that you love something and you want to do it, that's it.
Yeah.
I hope people will get that in their careers.
Find your passion, and you found it.
Yeah.
Last question, very last.
Yes.
What advice would you give to someone who's a student or someone who's thinking about going into your line of work in 2025? What skills, experiences should they be getting?
Don't. I'm just kidding.
Why? No.
No, kidding.
Okay.
No. So, and I would say what I would say to my daughters, because one of them actually is showing interest in politics and this. I think just don't lose sight of that this is work and then there's life. This is a line of work where you can lose yourself. You can and especially with this news cycle, you get dragged into you can work 24/7. You can have your phone wake up. If you don't put your phone down and focus on family and focus on because jobs come and go, but your life is there. Your future, you want to what do you want? You want to build a family? Then also think about that. This time is not on your side. You don't want to build a family? Then go do but just be aware that if you get sucked into the news cycle, you might wake up one day and say, oh, I missed my life.
All of this. No, and that's what I love about you and working with you and being your friend. We're neighbors. You have a passion for your career, but you have boundaries. And you're a wonderful mom and wife, and you throw great summer
to my husband.
I'll tell him myself. You throw great summer parties, and you got to have that balance. Well, Rana Abtar, thanks for joining us here on Taking the Edge Off the Middle East. This was a great discussion. I really enjoyed it. That's all the time we have for this week. I want to thank the audience for tuning in to Taking the Edge Off the Middle East. That's all the time we've got today, but we'll be coming back to you in 2 more weeks with another episode. You can follow our program on X, Facebook, Instagram, and all of those social media outlets, and look at our website, www.mei.edu. I'm Brian Katulis. That's all the time we have for this week.